as I said, this is why you should find the slides uploaded. If you find any discrepancy, because some of these slides are hidden, but the one I uploaded is not hidden. If you find any discrepancy, just let me know. I can upload the slide again. This is not supposed to be hidden. Can you go and check the slides online in Canvas? Okay, we are ready to go. Okay, so we learn about attacks in a big deal. We learn about crypto systems, and we now would like to talk about a new technology for cyber defense, which is what we call the prevention technology. Okay, to prevent it, to prevent the attack from happening. If you look at NIST cybersecurity framework, NIST has identified 5 major areas for cyber defense. 5 major areas in something called very, very well known, famous, called NIST cybersecurity framework, almost known to every single industry, pretty much a standard. What are the 5 areas that NIST identify as a major cybersecurity themes or techniques? Number 1 is identify. Identifying what? Let me just put it here. NIST. Should I write here? Does it?
It doesn't matter wherever you.
If I write it, it comes?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll write here. NIST Cyber Security Framework. This is how we write, okay? So the first one is identify. The second one is protection. The third one is detection. The fourth one is response. The fifth one is recover. Any credible cybersecurity program should cover all these areas, either way. If you want to evaluate any cybersecurity program, I mean, regardless, short course, degree, should cover all these areas. Is this the only areas? No. There are some other areas which is coming from my own research. For example, deception. Another one called verification. Okay, this is additional. Okay, which is, I call it loopholes in NIST framework. Okay, it's a really loopholes. Okay, additional ones. Okay, and this is what I give a talk about this additional ones. Okay, deterrence. We talked about deterrence. Can anybody remember anything I said in the class that's related to deterrence? How we deter attacker?
Do the moving network?
Yeah, the moving target. Great, thank you. This is examples of new technology that actually, cyber defense technology came in the past, I would say, 8 years, 7 years, not yet included, but it will be included soon because I work with NIST and MITRE, and we are having a draft documents that will be extended. But this is so basic, so important. Okay, what is identified? This means risk assessment. Assessment. We did not talk about this in this course. I'm gonna mention something about it today and tomorrow, but there is a whole course in our curriculum called risk quantification and assessment. Risk quantification, cyber risk quantification and assessment is extremely important area. So understand your weaknesses, understand where is your most likelihood the attacker will come from. Okay, just an offline analysis, just understanding who you are, what's your vulnerabilities, how strong your countermeasures are, or how strong your cybersecurity is an important exercise to do at the beginning. Okay. Then protection. What's protection? Firewall. Basically, this is where firewall comes. Firewall is to provide you protection. Protection means prevention. It's a proactive defense. It's trying to prevent the attack from happening. That's what I mean, protection. This is why I don't like the word protecting me. Prevent to me is closer, but it's their standard called protection. But they really mean prevention. Okay. So firewalls is just fits right here. Okay. What about detection? What fits right here? IDS. Okay. I should see here. I should also say IPsec as well. Okay, because they're close. Firewall and IPsec in category 2. Okay. Okay. Detection, IDS, intrusion detection systems, with all kind of IDS. I will talk about IDS, but maybe if I don't come to IDS by the end of the lecture tomorrow, I will spare some time in the WebEx. That's fine. I need about 1 hour at least to talk about IDS. Again, there is an advanced course in the program, talk about intrusion detection system in great details. I want you to, this course, introductory course, to have a very solid idea about all these areas. But maybe you not have depth in all of them. You have a depth in some of them, like firewall. But others, you already have good ideas that you can go and shop for courses and even seek for more information from the net if you want. Response. What is called under response? Okay? Intrusion response system, IRS. Remember, your tax is next month, right? Okay. This is not IRS, the tax agency. Okay. This is intrusion response system. Okay. This is different from intrusion detection system. Intrusion detection systems just detects and tell you, hey, there's a fire. There's a fire in the room. That's it. Okay. And it tells you after the fact. That's a problem. It's not like prevention. It's not like number 2. After the fact. It tells you, and how long after the fact? It's very disappointing. I looked at my recent research is just and see how IDS, sometimes it's 6 months after that attack happened, sometimes 3 months, in some best cases 24 to 48 hours after the attack's coming. So very hard to know instantaneously. Sometimes you can if it's a malware that's already known. I'm talking about zero-day attack. How soon you can know zero-day attack? How soon you can detect a zero-day attack? Usually takes time. Look, 2 weeks in this coronavirus, 2 weeks of stealthiness makes it a worldwide epidemic virus for the first time in human history. That we have a virus that infects all countries, all people. It doesn't distinguish between color and nationalities, right? In just because it has a stealthiness of 2 weeks, okay? Imagine something that has a stealthiness of months. It can go much more aggressive than this, okay? So IDS only detects, okay, after the fact. And how long it will take to detect, we don't know. It is very important technology. Although we know the effectiveness of this may not be as good as we want when it is zero-day attack. You know what's a zero-day attack? Guys, somebody can raise his hand there. What's a zero-day attack? 0 day, yeah.
It's something that the company doesn't know about, that they don't find, but it's like something that I find a bug in Windows and then I exploit it. I found a 0 day in Windows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. That's one good definition. It's not only the company, but the entire world. No, I mean, most of the people it's not announced. There's no signature for it. Most of the people don't know about this attack. Maybe the government know about this attack, but the government will not disclose the information. Okay? So a 0 day attack, it means that it's not known to you. You have no signature. You have no description for it. Okay? Can you imagine that there's a virus going around? I mean, like at least a coronavirus, they know how to create what do you call it? Immunization for it, or what do you call it? Cure, a shot for it. Vaccine. They know how to create vaccine. Okay, I mean they are in the process of creating a vaccine for it, right? Okay, so but if you don't know it, you cannot create a vaccine for it. Okay, so there's no vaccine for it because you don't know it. So this is the big challenge here for detection. When something is being detected, and maybe you have a fire in the building or multiple fires in the building, you need intrusion response system to mitigate. This is for mitigation. Okay? If you talk about mitigation, it's coming here. You need to mitigate this. You need to minimize damage. Maybe let's talk about fire as an example. If there's a fire in the building in multiple places, maybe you're gonna isolate the rest of the building by shutting down the electricity and putting some kind of barriers. You can put water barriers, you can put whatever isolation material to make sure that the fire will not go to the next room. Maybe you can move furniture, you can move material from one room to another. So you have a number of different ways to minimize damage by minimizing the spread of the fire, or maybe slowing down the fire. Okay, same concept applied in attacker. If you can slow down the attacker, if you can distract the attacker, if you can isolate the attack by quarantining, like what we do now, quarantining, they also call it quarantining. That's all the business of this guy. Again, we're not going to talk about this in this course, but this is also an advanced network security course. I talked about this in a big deal, how we respond very fast. But just one thing here for you guys that it's really worth of saying. There's a very new technology which is very promising technology called SOAR, S-O-A-R, Security Orchestration Automation Response. Security Orchestration Automation Response. I mentioned this before. I sit in the first SOAR company that has been acquired by Splunk. It's called Cyber Phantom. Your friend here from Bank of America, actually he is working on Cyber Phantom in the bank.
I work on a SOAR team in the bank.
You are?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So Cyber Phantom is something I advise. Yeah. You work on the, okay, great.
Yeah, I work for, in GIS, I do we did.
Oh, you're in GIS, okay.
Yeah, so I was on a SOAR team that.
So which product do you use?
So we use our thing was we built internal facing web apps for different security purposes. So we just did what's it called? FireEye?
FireEye, okay.
Building tools to query the
Do you
API.
use Splunk?
I didn't, but I know that people
Splunk
use it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So SOAR is very important technology here. Intrusion response system, very important technology here. But I just want to add something here, which is very related to intrusion response system and SOAR. It's called SIM technology. SEIM. It stands for Security Event Information Management. Okay, where you basically collect and correlate information from different sources of the network. Example of this Splunk. Imagine that there's a big repository where you can put all the logs from all the machines, from DNS, from the network, into one place so you can query and understand what's going on and respond. SIM, IRS, and SOAR. So SOAR is actually a combination of these two. Okay? SOAR is a combination of these two. Okay. Is intrusion response, which is the decision making, and SIM, which is the collection and the analysis. Okay? This is really my favorite topic now. We do a lot of research here, and if you are interested, summer will be an interesting time to discuss this projects regarding this. Okay, and then the last one is recover, and not least, but it's a very it's very important area, but it's very well defined what to do, how you recover. You need to have contingency plans. You need to have a disaster disaster recovery plan. You need to have backups. You need to have redundancy. You need to have isolation and these kind of things, which is usually are planned right here. When you identify risk, you plan for this. Okay, there's a connection here. Okay. By the way, this step is very, very important. You know why? Because in this step, you might define how much you want to invest in protection, in detection, in response, and recovery. Okay? So recovery means that's it. Your system is dead. Your files has been exported or exfiltrated, right? What you can do, there are some actions are irrecoverable, like if your intellectual property has been exfiltrated. I mean, that's extremely bad, right? So how are we going to recover this? If your social security number has been leaked out and being used by for identity theft, you don't have much of a recovery there. This is why those things, which items or assets that has less recoverability, less potential of recoverability, we need to put more emphasis in prevention, detection, and response. But there are many things that are recoverable. Link is down, link is flooded. Change the link. Reroute the traffic. Server is down, server is under attack. Deploy another server called Elastic Cluster, Elastic Search, or Elastic Services, where you can expand. You can have more servers created on demand, and you can reroute your customers to these services. So file is being lost. Okay, you have a backup. You have actually multiple backups. There are earthquakes somewhere in one state. You have a data backup in another state. You store your data in multiple clouds. Not even one vendor cloud, in Amazon and Microsoft. So you are geographically dispersed, vendor dispersed, platform dispersed. You can maximize the potential of recoverability by increasing redundancy. The secret here is redundancy, okay? And be smart in how you putting your money in different bank accounts in the same bank is not a good redundancy. It's in the same bank. Maybe split it over different banks, maybe, okay? Or putting something in the bank, something in a solid asset like a house, okay? So some people take a backup and store the backup in the same server. So the backup installed in the same server. So if the server is attacked by ransomware attackers, the backup is there, so you cannot access it. Everything is locked down. So this is the story with recovery. Okay. So I don't want to take much time because I think my focus now is here. Okay. Here is our focus here for firewall. Firewall is very important and has been the most important technology since the entire cybersecurity grew to be a very important field. So from day one, firewall has been identified as #1 technology used in any enterprise. So I've seen a number of surveys conducted by FBI and Verizon asking people what are the most important devices or what are the most popular devices used. Still firewall #1. Firewall reinvent itself. It still have the same function, but it's getting faster and faster and getting smarter and smarter. But firewall function is one thing, one word only. Filtering. It's a filtering device. Okay? It's a filtering device. So nothing more sophisticated than this. But it is the art of firewall design to know how to configure it, what to filter and what not to filter, and how you can use multiple firewalls to have what we call collaborative filtering. Collaborative. Firewall is not one device. Firewall is a group of devices that's supposed to work together to do the mission. Okay. So how you orchestrate this and how you design that architecture is an art. And this is what the lecture is about. Hopefully you can see this. So let's go into the slide now and see what we have here. So in this class, you will learn first what are the basic functions of firewall, and then next you're gonna look at access control, ACLs. Just remember this word. We call it ACLs. Is access control lists. ACLs are the policy that control the configuration of firewalls, IPsec, even routing. They call it ACLs. Okay. So it's very widely used as a terminology in that these ACLs come from human. human have to write these rules. There are rules define what's the access control list or policies for these devices. So we're going to look at how we can configure this and how we can place firewalls in different parts in the network. Okay. So I think let's just look at this picture first. Okay. When you see when you want to look at cybersecurity system from a high-level view, you will see algorithms like SHA, SHA, or DIS, or triple DIS, or AES. These are algorithms, encryption algorithms. And you see protocols like PGP, SSL, TLS. These are protocols. But what is usually missing is that actually you should see also policies and configurations, because the policies and configurations control both the algorithm and the policy, the algorithm and the protocols. So firewalls is mostly controlled by policies. Okay, the algorithm side is simple, but the policy is what needs to be sophisticated here. So what's a firewall? A firewall is a packet filtering device that will decide if any packet should be forwarded or discarded. It's a packet per packet decision. Okay, it's a packet per packet decision. And firewall can be used to filter packets coming from outside into the network, okay, from outside, which is what most of the people, of course, think that this is the case. And also filtering the packet going from inside to outside. So, by the way, you have to look at this. So, also firewalls can be placed within your network and has nothing to do with anything coming from outside to filter packets between domains or between hosts within your network. So you can use firewalls to regulate traffic within your enterprise. Okay? So you see three functions here. They are all filtering. Inbound filtering, outbound filtering, and inside filtering. Okay? So this is why you just have to look at all these functions as we go. Okay. So firewall has also logging facilities or logging capabilities. You can look at firewall logs and learn from that, but this is not our main focus here. What does a firewall policy look like? I have here a simple rule format of firewall policy. A firewall policy is simply 5 tuples. Let me erase this now. These, stop me here. The main idea of having this class together here is to ask questions and, stop me here or slow me down, whatever, to make sure that I don't move to the next point before all other points are clear. So firewall policy, okay, yeah.
So when you say firewall, now every computer they have the UFW allow built in to everything. Is that or do you mean a physical device?
A firewall is a software.
Okay.
It could be put into a hardware box.
Okay.
Or it could be there's a hardware-based firewall. There's a software-based firewall.
Okay.
But the firewall, the program, okay, you can put it into a specialized hardware, like what Cisco is doing and Juniper or FireEye, okay, and give you a very, very sophisticated hardware that will run the software of the firewall faster. Or you can download the firewall software in your Windows or your Linux and change your laptop to be a firewall, okay, or can act as a firewall at least in part, okay. So many small businesses do that. They don't want to buy a new firewall. They get just a cheap Linux box and just download IP table in it. IP table is one open source firewall, and just configure IP table and then act as a firewall. Okay, so the firewall is a software, and a firewall is a very simple software. So it's just it's running on a box. Okay, could be customized box, which is very expensive. FireEye, Cisco. Cisco has two different firewalls, iOS and PIX, P-I-X, and they did two famous ones, PIX and iOS. And so it could be, or could be, as I said, a commodity. So what does a firewall have? It has policies. I call it firewall policy, which determine how the firewall will behave, how the firewall will decide to throw a packet, pass a packet, or deny a packet. And then firewall has an input, which is packet, and then has an output, either pass or I will make it allow here, allow the packet to go. As simple as this, okay? Imagine this, only a single port here. We don't want to complicate things, just a single port, okay? Port in, port out, pass or trash. And this is denied, okay? Interestingly, to know that when firewall decides to either pass the packet or trash it, the firewall looks at only the headers. The firewall is not supposed to look at the content, because a firewall device is supposed to work on the line speed. It's supposed to work fast. We don't want firewalls to slow down by having heavy processing requirement that might increase delays in the network and maybe congestion later on. So it's a mandatory for firewalls to be very fast. That's why you pay a lot of money for enterprise level firewalls from Cisco, because they are very, very fast. I mean, you're talking about gigapackets per second they can process, gigapackets. So they look only at the header. So what headers do they look at? They look at all kind of headers. Anything called header, firewall can fairly look at it, okay? But there are two kinds of firewall. There's a basic firewall policy, basic policy, and there's an extended policy, okay? At least this is from Cisco perspective, okay? In extended policy, we only look at the TCP IP header. TCP IP headers, okay, which is protocol, proto, IP source, IP destination, source port, and destination port. This is what we call it. What we call this 5 tuples. Did you? Yeah. This is the 5 tuples here. This is the basic policy, okay, that any firewall in the world, any firewall, the minimum function a firewall can provide is to look at these 5 and decide. To look at these 5 fields in the packet header of TCP IP and decide, okay? There's no firewall will look at this sentence, okay? However, in the extended one, you can look at all kinds of headers. You can look at other fields in TCP IP. You can look at TTL. You can look at the class of surface, the field or type of surface, class of surface, type of surface. You can look at the fin and SYN bits. Okay, you can look at the fragmentation bit. Oh, you can look at the MAC address, MAC header. Okay, so you have really extended policy that allows you to check and inspect many different fields within TCP/IP and in the MAC layer. Okay, so eventually here, what I'm saying, firewall is his business is limited to header inspection, and it's a misconception in the mind of many people when they call the virus checker Symantec or McAfee or whatever you call it firewall. It's not a firewall because most of these virus or malware checker, they are actually looking at the contents. They're looking beyond the header, okay? And firewall does not look beyond the header, okay? So what about, so far so good, right? So what about the application header? Do we have an application header? Do you have an example of application header? What about application header? Like what? Example. Give me an example of an application header. Network application, network surface, like what? Does HTTP has headers?
Yeah.
What kind of thing you think it has in the header, in the HTTP header?
A session or something.
Okay, session ID. You also have the command. What kind of command is HTTP command? What HTTP command? Get and post.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay.
And also the URL. They call it resource. They call it resource in the header. They call it resource. Okay. And the time. And many other things. Okay. Can you filter packet based on this? The answer is yes. But we call this application level firewall. It's different from what Cisco said. It's an independent one, but still called firewall. And you can go for it. You can have application level web firewall. It's something called WAF. Example of this is WAF. Okay? Yes?
Isn't it easier to filter HTTP requests with CORS headers?
With that,
The CORS headers?
C-O-R?
CORS. Another sort of security filter.
C-O-R-S?
Yes.
What is C-O-R-S?
One second.
It's like, they're like,
It's another sort of security filtering. Use it with CURL.
If there is anyone does...
Cross-origin resource sharing.
Okay, I don't know about this part of technology, but if there is anything that will allow you to filter packets, filter means deny a packet or allow the packet, based on the application header, it's called firewall. They name it CORS or they name it anything else. It's just a naming, but it's a concept. It's a firewall, like WAF. Okay, it's a firewall for web firewall. Okay, so it filters all packets that are actually invalid. If there is an invalid packet coming into your web-based application, it can filter it out. Okay, it can throw it out. So any filtering software or filtering technology that allow you to define what's bad signature and will throw out the packet based on that signature is called firewall. So don't be misled by the name. Okay, so yeah.
Now my point was instead of using the HTTP header, you can instead filter it with an exact signature. Not that it wasn't a firewall, it was instead of just filtering by HTTP, you can filter it by a cross-origin header.
Okay, so let me give you an example. If you don't want to allow any of your employees to post, you know what's post, HTTP post, allow your employees to fill a form. If you fill a form, you don't want your employee to do that. You want employee to only get, receive HTTP traffic, view HTTP pages, but not to post, not to fill a form. So you can go to a firewall, application level firewall, and say no, for post, deny any packet going out, and you can kill it this way. You see what I mean? So I'm not saying that I'm suggesting that you do this, but this is possible. Okay, if you want to say, look, I don't want my employees to go to a specific web page, not a specific domain, but a specific web page in a domain, where you can filter this only in application level firewall by saying, okay, they can go to CNN, but they should not go to CNN financial page.
so if you block the GET request from CNN, they won't be able to get there.
They will not be able to get there. Yeah, you have the control. This is your enterprise. You don't want them to go and look at the stock market in CNN, but they can look at the news. How you can how you can discriminate between these two? You cannot discriminate between these two looking at TCP/IP header because they both are going to CNN. Okay, so you only can do this here. This is give you a fine-grained control. They call fine-grained filtering. Fine-grained filtering. This is coarse-grained. This is fine-grained. But the issue here is gives a lot of control. What should be done, what not should be done. Even within your enterprise, if you want the students to access some web pages, but not other web pages, you can do that. But at the same time, you need a firewall per application. So FTP, some people using some people use firewall for FTP. They want to allow FTP to get files, but not to post files. We call it put in FTP, get and put. They don't want to allow put. Actually, sometimes they will allow you to post or put files of a certain names. If it is non-PDF, will not allow you to put it. You only allow you to put PDF files. So how are we going to check if it's a PDF or a doc or Excel file? You can check this in the headers of FTP. FTP headers say what's the file name. Okay. So this fine-grained filtering require application level firewalls. Okay. In this course, we are not going that deep here, but it's very important to understand this concept. Firewalls restricted in its analysis on headers. Never ever gonna touch the content or the payload. We'll never look there, we'll never cross the headers. There are three kinds of headers. There's a MAC header, there's TCP/IP header, and there's application header. It's a fair game for firewall to look at any one of them. But one important thing you need to know, when you go to application level header, where you're gonna ask for a fine grain, you wanna have a fine grain filtering, you don't ask Cisco for that. Cisco will not provide you with this. You need to get a custom, call it application level firewall for your application. Sometimes people are using voice over IP. I've seen the firewall for voice over IP. They want really firewall that looks at the header of voice over IP to block some phone numbers and allow some phone numbers and block some countries and allow some countries. Restrict where your voice over IP can go and come. Where you can do that in voice over IP application level filters or application level firewall. Is the concept clear? Okay. I don't know about the other technology you're talking about, but
it's another type of firewall, but it's interesting because it actually uses API keys to filter.
API.
It uses API keys to filter. Essentially, I'm the only one that can call the API through my application. If anyone else tries to call the put or get request, it immediately blocks it.
It's a kind of a firewall.
Yeah.
It's a concept of firewall. Yeah. Okay.
It's just very interesting the way it works.
Sure. Yeah. I'll look it up and see if there's any other interesting things I can bring it up to the class here. Okay. So what do we have here? Okay. So what we have here is the general functionality firewall that its entire operation is based on the policy here. Our focus in here. How you write this policy, right? So you know the basic functionality here. So how you write a firewall policy? Firewall policy is very simple. It's very simple. So in the slide I have what the format of this. The basic firewall has this rule here. The first field here is the rule number. Do you have to have a rule number? Well, for one reason, because if you don't have a number, these rules will be numbered sequentially, based on their order sequentially. Okay. But if you want to give a number here, that means you are actually give a priority index. Okay. So rule number 3 will be processed before rule number 10. Okay. So if you don't give a number, it will go sequential. Protocol, it's going to match a protocol field. What kind of protocol it is? What kind of protocol this packet will use? IP, TCP, ICMP, IGMP, Okay, that's level of firewall. That's that level of protocol, which is the transport level protocol. Okay, you can even here, as I said, you can say ICMP or IGMP. Where is it coming from? Source IP. What port number is coming from? What IP address is going to? What port is going to? And this is the action. Action here, either deny or accept. The action either deny or accept. Let's have an example of this. Okay, I want to allow all packets coming to my web server. Okay, coming from outside to my web server. How can I write a rule like this? What's the rule would be? Allowing the rule to allow all web traffic to my, I'm gonna put double line here, my web server. Okay, how will I do this? Yeah, what do I start? What's the protocol will be?
You do, it's HTTP or...
No, this is transport level
TCP.
protocol. TCP, good, good. TCP, and then what's star, 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 star. 4 fields, okay? And slash, backslash, what? Port number. What is the port number here?
443?
Any. Because you want to allow coming to port 80, right? Coming to your port 80. No. Any. That's a browser.
Yeah, but it should be coming from 80 on the browser to any of your ports.
No,
Allow all traffic, all web traffic to my web server. This will be the port number of the client, the port number of the browser. You don't know what's the port number.
But it's always going to be 80.
No.
That's the
That's the destination. This is the source, right? This is the source, right? The source, the client,
Yeah.
will be your browser.
Yes.
And your browser usually when start communicating with the server, it will select an inferral port. We talked about this before.
I thought that was the server that would have that port open. Like that would be like...
The server will have port 80 open.
Or 443.
And then it...
Or 443. Yes.
Okay.
If it's HTTPS. Let's just take it simple. Port 80 open. The server gonna bind and listen to port 80.
Yeah.
But clients could come from any random port numbers. We call it inferral port numbers. They are non-restricted, but they are within a range which is above 30,000.
Okay.
From 30,000 to 65,000, that's the range where browsers can select ports from. So this is why I cannot put that port number here.
Okay.
I can't, because I don't know what's the port number of your browser. Okay. Usually clients, all clients, not only browsers, all clients, they will select a random port when they start. Servers are required to bind to a well-known port, only servers. Okay? So this will go to, I'm gonna draw this arrow here to make it simple, okay? My web server, I don't know what's the name of my web server, just give it any address, 1.2.3.4. Okay? Specific. Have to be specific. Okay? Then slash what?
80.
80. Allow. This discussion, why I have this class here. Please ask questions. Okay. Interesting. This is the first class in the past 20 years that I do in the morning. This is the first class ever in 20 years. Interesting. Looks nice to do class in the morning. Okay, yes.
So
Let me write this aloud here. Okay. Okay. Yes. So.
just a little technical note. You said that servers always have to bind to a port.
Correct.
That is not necessarily true because what you could do is have a matchmaking server that pairs you up with the real server, and the real server can use any port, and the matchmaking server will need a specified well-known port. That's a common practice in video games. You can also use that to do like hole punching.
I know what you're talking about. This is okay. What I said is generally true. This is what you call a dynamic port selection, but still have to bind that port and has to be announced and exchanged. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So you cannot just select as a server a random port and not to tell anybody and expect people to come to you. Okay. So if you have a random port selection as a server, you can select a random port and then you can tell people, oh, by the way, I select this port. You can come to me to this port. That's it. Still, server has to bind to a port. So the bind is a function in socket programming. So it does not exist in the client code. Bind. It's actually system call. Okay. Only exists in the server code. The server must bind to a port, but it doesn't exist in a client code if you do socket programming. That's why this is what I do for a long time. So the client has to connect. So what will happen if the client issue connect? Connect is a system call like this. The operating system will select a random port, but this cannot work with the server. Server has to say bind before accept a connection. You see that this is what I'm trying to make it clear. So are you going to select this as a well-known port from 1 to 1024? That's well-known. Or you can select a port from outside and announce it later. This is what you're talking about. Okay, but in both cases you bind. You have to bind. Yes.
So is all traffic coming from to everybody is coming from that one port in the web server? It doesn't like.
Yeah, it's coming in and going out. The server uses the server.
Altered
Yes, if the server respond,
Yeah.
that's what I'm coming into.
Okay.
You have to respond from this. Okay. Okay. Now, assume since you talk about this, is this good enough? The answer is no. This is not good enough because this allows the traffic going in one direction. If you want to allow traffic truly for web servers or for web traffic fully with a browser, you have to have two rules. This rule and the other rule that allow the traffic going back from the web server to the client. In this case will be 2, 3, 4, 80 to any allow. Without this rule over here, okay, you only allow traffic coming in, and the server traffic going outside will be dropped, will be denied. Why is that? Because the default is deny. I just want you to learn that. If you don't say allow, the default is deny. Usually this is the case, and it's highly recommended, and usually the case for most of firewalls. The default is deny. The default is in your hand. You can change the default. But the common standard, the common practice is to keep the default as deny. So just remember this. I don't want to be confused about why sometimes we will change the default to accept. I'll talk about this later on. But for the time being here, let's assume that default is deny. If you don't have the second rule here, rule number 2, what's going to happen? The traffic coming back, going out, or coming back from the server to the client will be denied, and you don't get any benefit. Okay, so you have to always think about two-way traffic. Two-way traffic. Does it make sense? Okay. Here we're talking about what we call stateless firewall, because a firewall called stateless. Stateless firewall does not remember. He have seen packets coming this way, then he will remember that he have to send. He have to allow the packet going the other way. He doesn't have memory. He just look at packet per packet basis, and does the filtering and decision of the filtering based on the packet header. As simple as this. It's your mistake if you don't include both. Okay? And some people think, oh, but I wrote this. Why he doesn't understand that the reverse traffic? He doesn't understand. He doesn't remember. Stateless. Most high-level enterprise firewall are stateless. Why? Because they're fast. They don't require memory. They don't require any history. They can do filtering in the speed. Okay. You don't want to have a firewall. We're going to talk about stateful later, but you don't want to have a stateful firewall in the boundary of your network. In the boundary of your network, you're going to have a stateless firewall. It's much faster. Yeah.
How does like a default, like if I just put up route, how does that default router allow for like incoming web traffic if it's going to any port on any device? Like wouldn't that just make you really vulnerable? Like what would be the point?
You mean?
Like if I'm the client and I have my own, like my router has a firewall or whatever, how is that configured like to default so that it allows me to go to websites and whatnot?
Hole punching.
Well, but everything.
Let me get your question clear. So you are configuring this. You're talking about this. You are configuring this in the server side.
I'm talking about client side.
The client side.
Client side. I just want to know like what.
So you want to allow your browser
Yeah.
to go and access any server, any web server.
Yes.
Okay, let's put this example here. Okay, this is a good example. Okay, I'm gonna change this one. So you wanna allow all web traffic going out from my browser. Right? My browser. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, help me out. How to write this rule for this? What's a protocol?
TCP.
TCP. Usually you write it small letter like this, yeah? And then
It would be your address.
your machine
Yeah.
address. Let's say I call it my machine, okay? Let's say my mac.com. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay? Maybe your machine or your domain. And then what about the port number?
That's I don't know.
This is going out from your browser.
So,
So it could-
any?
It could be, it must be any.
Okay.
Otherwise, you're gonna block all the traffic.
Right.
Okay, it must be any. Must be any. Okay, it's going to who? So you did not say anything about it. You said all web traffic. Look at this.
Yeah.
All web. Then it has to be star, 80. Because you have not defined what web servers you would like to communicate with. You said any web server in the world.
Yeah.
But that's 80 will determine it's a web server.
But it could be a different port. Like you could have it bound to any port.
Who bound any port? No.
80 and 443 are.
Forget about 443. You know, 443 for SSL.
Okay.
But just let's focus on 80
Okay.
without encryption. So
Yeah.
what do you, there's no other choice. You have to go to, if you want to communicate with web, you go to 80
But
or 443 if it's SSL. Yeah.
But what's the point of the firewall if you're just gonna allow any traffic to come in as well?
No, they're gonna block any traffic going back to any other port. If you're going to 43, 25, 21, it will be blocked here.
Okay.
It will be blocked. So you only allow this. Okay, I have to say allow. Okay, and then allow also the reverse.
Right.
So, okay, let me finish this completely. Okay, this will be star coming back, right? 80 going to what? My Mac, which is my machine.com. Maybe my domain in this case, any has to be any because coming back to my browser. And then rule number whatever, let's say rule number 10 here. Look at this. TCP star any going to star any deny. You see that? This 1 and 2 allow, and rule number 10 deny everything else. So that means if you have this policy, it means you only restrict your machine or your domain to communicate with web services only. And that's a firewall. That's you are restricting it, okay? So no FTP, no SSL, no SSL here, actually. No SSL, no SSH, no DNS traffic will go. Firewall just as dumb as this. Whatever you write, he will do. It may not make sense to you, like why DNS? You know, DNS is important, but you don't have it here. Firewall will not figure it out. Firewall will not gonna think for you. This is why writing policies is very important. I'm gonna show you statistics that 80% of firewalls are misconfigured because it's people just overlook things, and it's actually configuration of firewall sometimes is really complex. Okay, make sense? Okay, any question? Yeah.
So, you said that firewalls would be very complex. I'm assuming if you were at like an enterprise setting, you would have like hundreds of rules. Is that right?
Actually, thousands of rules.
Thousands? Oh.
Yeah. You have easily 15,000 rules sometimes. 5 to 15,000 rules as an average size of enterprise firewall. In my machine, you have hundreds. You know, maybe 600, 700 rules. Okay. So, if you want to have a rigorous firewall that really does the work for you, you have to do that. Okay. If you have a firewall that has 2 rules or 3 rules, that means your firewall is widely open or you have a lot of holes in it. Okay. So, let's assume you want to block multicast traffic. Have you thought about multicast? Do you need multicast? No, I don't need multicast. How you can block multicast traffic? You don't need you know what I mean by multicast. Okay. There are three types of traffic in the internet: unicast, multicast, and broadcast. Okay. So the unicast is what we use on a daily basis. What we have in the board here is a unicast, one-to-one, from one source to one destination. Broadcast, one to many. Let me just finish this. One to many. Okay. When you send to 255, 255, 255, 255, what's that? What's that address? It's a broadcast address. It does not belong to a single machine. It goes to every single machine. Okay? Every single machine. There's something in the middle. Not broadcast to everybody, not a unicast for single, but actually for some. You can select some machines to send. It's a group of machines you select to send a packet to. But you send one packet, it goes to all these 3, 5, 6, whatever, 16 machines. It's called multicast. Yeah.
It's like torrent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So there are many protocols using this multicast. So multicast use UDP protocol. Okay. So let's make it a simple instead of going a multicast. Let's assume that you don't want UDP traffic. What do you think you should do here? I want you to give me a rule to deny UDP traffic. What's the rule will look like? I will come here. So we are now in the policy side. What's the rule to deny UDP traffic?
Do we start with UDP?
Yeah? Tell me. Mm-hmm. UDP. Star.
Yeah, star. Any?
Any?
Any arrow.
Any? Arrow.
Star. /.
Maybe this is your network, right?
Yeah.
Let's say this will be UNCC. UNCC.edu. And this will be what? Maybe N. Right? It should make a space here. UDP. And then star. Any. This is UNCC. edu. Any.
You can block it on 1900.
Deny. This will do what?
You cannot block all UDP traffic.
But you know what?
You don't want to block all UDP traffic.
You don't want to block all UDP traffic.
Port 1900.
What is 1900?
That's multicast port.
No. Forget about multicast. It's a big. If you don't know multicast, I need to speak more about. I need to give you more background. Multicast has a range. It's from 244 to 239. It's not about the port. It's a range. Let's put the multicast back on the burner. We'll come back to multicast later. Okay. I just want to teach you here a very important concept here, which is called the concept of exception, how to make an exception in your policy. Let's go with me in this example. If you do something like this, what do? You block all UDP traffic. Is all UDP traffic is bad?
No.
Which one example of UDP traffic that's not bad, that's an important traffic?
Void.
Hmm?
Void. Voice over IP.
What else? Something very...
DNS.
DNS. What port?
I don't know.
Look it up.
25? I have no idea.
25!
I'm just
Woo!
throwing out
No,
numbers.
25 is the mail. Email.
Okay, I missed that.
53.
53. So, here is how we make calls or exceptions in firewall. Before this rule, right before it, I can write this. UDP, okay? Star, this is coming in. Star, 53. Okay? Going to uncc.edu, any, allow. And not only this, also UDP, okay, this is traffic coming into UNCC, but star, any, coming to my dns.uncc.com 53, allow. What I'm doing here, can somebody explain in English what I'm doing? In the first rule and second rule, this is first rule, second rule, third rule. What's the first rule supposed to do?
You're sending all traffic to the DNS server.
Allow.
Yeah.
Allow. Oh, any traffic coming, okay, not any traffic, any DNS request.
You saying?
Why is DNS request? It's, who's gonna come to your DNS server is, the requester.
Yeah.
Somebody coming to request. So all DNS requests coming to my DNS server in UNC Charlotte, allow it. And allow all the responses, okay, from any of my, or the responses from outside DNS server to my domain. If I talk with the DNS outside, or if someone will talk with my DNS inside, both will be allowed. Otherwise, deny. Interesting, right? You can't read the firewall policy rule by rule. You have to read them as a block. That's what I want to say here. Many people do mistakes because you look at firewall and make his decision based on one firewall, based on one rule, which is completely wrong and misconception. These are together make one semantic or one meaning, okay? I can visualize this like this. If this is a UDP traffic, it's a circle, I like set theory, okay? You deny the entire thing. This is UDP. UDP. This is UDP, okay? This is UDP here. So this is completely denied, okay? Everything is denied here. And then you came and you poke a hole. Here. You allow this. But everything is, what's this? This is the traffic for number one. And maybe another hole here. Traffic for number two. This is the picture. I give you this picture to see that, my God, so I have to look at the correlation between the rules. Okay, it's not. So here I made an exception. You always do that all the time. You cannot live without exceptions. There's no policy has no exceptions, okay? Okay, do not allow any UDP traffic except DNS, and maybe you would not allow gaming. Most of the games are UDP, right? Yeah, using UDP. Some games using TCP.
It depends.
Yeah, most of the a game that, so you are using reliable UDP, kind of reliable UDP, or custom UDP, because TCP is, it depends, as you said, but most of the games are. Anyway, so you want to allow a specific game, then you have to find out what support number for that game and allow it. So in most of the cases, you set up a policy and then you make an exception. This is an example of how you make an exception. But first, you set a policy. Okay. You ask yourself the following question: is all UDP traffic is important? No. The majority of UDP traffic is not important. Then set the default rule, or the base. Let's call it not default. The base rule. The base rule here said you deny all. Okay. So let's do another example. Okay. There is an example here where the base rule is number 10, where you deny here, just if you put there, you deny number 10 here, you deny all TCP traffic, but you made an exception here to allow traffic, web traffic coming back and forth to your network in rule number 1 and 2. 1 and 2 allowing the TCP traffic, web traffic coming to your network. So again, this is an example of making an exception. Okay. You can also deny all ICMP traffic except echo request for pinging. Okay. So people are doing this all the time. The main important lesson here that you cannot just look at the firewall rules independently. If they are overlapping, if there is a connection between them, you have to look at them together. And what's the problem here? This could be rule number 1. This could be rule number 2. This could be rule number 300. It's not after each other. They are not sequentially ordered in a way that you can see them close to each other, so you can make. That makes it even more confusing and complex for people to. When I give you a firewall policy that has 2,000 rules, and they are not nicely ordered or sorted, and there's a correlation between the rules, it's a nightmare. Okay, is there any other rule that overlap with this rule? There's an overlap here. Don't you think there's an overlap between these rules? The concept of overlap is very important, very critical, and this is what we're going to focus on in the coming hour. Let's say this is 101 firewall policy writing. I just want to get this across. This is 101 firewall policy writing. Okay. So any questions here? Okay. In most of the cases, this is what you do when you use stateless firewalls. But I have to talk about something with stateful firewalls. Okay. What's our stateful firewalls? Stateful firewalls, the firewalls that has memory. Okay. And let me use this part of the board because stateful firewall makes your life easier. But what's the price? There's nothing for free, guys. So there's nothing, if stateful firewall has all the advantages, they will not have stateless. Stateful firewall. Stateful firewall remembers the packet coming in. You don't have to write the reverse rule. So if you allow, let me rewrite this. Let me rewrite this or this. Rewrite this using stateful firewall. In a stateful firewall, okay. So let me explain the concept first before I. Firewall stateful does the following. When a packet comes, the first packet, what's the first packet in TCP? Will be the SYN packet, right? The SYN packet. In TCP, it will be SYN. Okay. The firewall gonna match it. Again, it's a policy. You have a policy. Okay. You're gonna match it against the policy. So this is the policy. So I have a nice animation. I'll show you that. Okay. Oh, the packet is match this rule, okay? The packet match this rule. This rule says allow. Okay, it will allow the packet. So far, nothing new. But it will record this allowed packet in what we call the state table. State table. It will record it. It will write in this table, okay, TCP packet allowed here. Let's look at this. Let's look at this, okay? TCP packet came from a client, right? So assume that the packet coming in here, this first packet here, okay? Am I in the picture here?
Yes.
This one is the picture too?
Yes.
Okay. If the first packet coming in, match rule number 1 here. Let's assume it match rule number 1 here. Focus with me here. The rule number 1 say what? Any client coming or any IP address coming, source, coming from any port, going to my web server here, will allow it. Okay. But the packet coming in has a very specific IP address. It's not going to have star, 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 right? So you're going to record here the exact source number. It's the IP source. You're going to record it. Source. Okay? So this is maybe 1, 2, 5, 6. Okay? And then port source. You're going to record it. It is actually 40,000, 41,000, 41,000. 41,000. Okay? Because we said it's above 30,000. It's all the clients. It's going to whom? It's going to 1, 2, 3, 4, and 80. Okay? You're going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, and 80. This is the IP destination. This is the IP port. Destination port. Port destination. This is TCP. Oh, this is TCP. This is protocol. Again, packet coming in. Usually first packet, same packet. Once it comes in, he sees it for the first time. Okay, I will use a policy. If I see it for the first time, I will use the policy. It happened that this packet matches rule number 1. Once it matches rule number 1, he will allow it because it say allow here, But at the same time, it record it into state table. But it will record solid, the concrete values of that packet. So you will record the exact source, the exact port coming from, which here undefined, and add, of course, the destination IP and destination port. Interestingly here, and look at this here, he add also another line. You know what he add? Same line in reciprocal order, reverse order. He say TCP, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 80, then put 1, 2, 5, 6, 41,000. He put both for you. So you don't have to. It's not only you don't have to write the other rule. You don't need to write the other rule now for that, for stateful firewall. If you write this and it matches this, the firewall is intelligent enough to know that the reverse direction is already allowed because it's storing it in the state table. But there's another advantage. If you see it and you tell me without telling you what is it, you're going to get an extra point. Okay, there's another advantage of this. Beside that, you don't have to identify the reverse traffic. What is it?
It's faster.
No, it logs it.
It's not faster actually because you go to the table.
But
Here you actually get This is what's the problem with stateful firewall. It's slower. You don't put it in the front end. I'll talk about later.
So
You don't put it in the slow. It's slower than the stateless. Stateless just look at the packet and just make decision. Okay. But you said something.
It's logged.
Yeah. What is really here different from this, the stateless firewall? This is more
Information.
more specific.
Specific.
Okay, means, you know what's the problem with this? It opened a hole here. Okay, if someone infected your web server, if somebody infected your web server, he can send traffic to anybody outside. He can attack people outside. Actually, it's what happened in IoT. Most of IoT devices have a web interface. So you can log into them remotely and reconfigure or configure your IoT devices. And now, if your IoT device that has a web server is infected or compromised, then you start attacking everybody else in the world because you have a firewall policy like this. Here you cannot do this because you only allow people to communicate outside for those who already been admitted. You see that? Very important to see that. Very important, okay? So it gives you much more fine-grained protection. Here, it's not only save you time of writing the reverse traffic, but also give you, only those who are allowed, concretely allowed, the IP addresses, concrete IP addresses that has been allowed, will be able to send the traffic outside. But if you write it this way, those who are, who are compromising your web server, your web server can send traffic basically to anybody outside. Even if this traffic going from your web server to outside has no legitimacy, has no client, is not a client coming in, it's not a request, it's not a response, it's not a web response. It could be a botnet, okay, that's infected your server. Do you see that? This is very important, right? So this is why, guys, we need to use both stateless and stateful. We can't rely on one. Stateless is not fine-grained. Stateless is not fine-grained, but it's faster. We keep it at the edge of the network. We keep it at the edge, okay? The border of the network. And inside the network, everything is stateless. Everything is stateful. Within your network, everything is stateful. That's the right architecture. That's the optimal architecture of firewall. Okay, so let me pause here and see. Too many concepts, right? Do you think I can do this in WebEx? Do you understand why I asked you to come? It's very hard. It's very hard to do this in WebEx.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is why.
Let's see the whiteboard,
Yeah, I mean, I hope the guys who are not with us in the class, when you look at the video, please do your best to understand, but also do your best to come tomorrow because, I'm not going to repeat the whole class in WebEx. So this is my class. It's delivered, and I hope you get as much as you can and you ask questions. So it's really deserved your effort and my effort to come here. Let's take a pause, guys, and just take a deep breath and see if you have any questions. Or please, you are here, you come on a special day. Let's take a bio break for 5 minutes, actually, and just give you some fresh air and come back. Okay, 5 minutes. So, yeah, you can pause or something.
We could stop it.
No, don't. You can stop it. Okay, stop it. Stop it and start again.